Hey, this is the chair guy. In my last video about sliding way up the neck, one thing I completely neglected was the simplest and most obvious method for doing so, and that's probably why I forgot. But that is basically the wonderful magical dots that we all have on our fretboard and the above so below principle of the 12th fret, which basically is that everything above the 12th fret is exactly the same as everything below the 12th fret, except it's an octave up. In other words, if we look at this chair, for instance, in fact, this whole first shape, as I call it, we see that it starts on the first dot, which means if we go down to the first dot underneath the 12th fret, we actually have the exact same shape, these three chairs, except that they're up an octave. This is up an octave from this chair, this is up an octave from this one, and this one is up from this one. So if we just use our bridge, we can very easily jump from shape number 1 to shape number 2 in different ways. So if you're just trying to get from shape number 1 to shape number 2, you can make those slides a little easier because they're just a 1-4-1-4 or a bridge apart. In other words, 3 frets. We know that we have the back of the chair behind the front of a chair, so you can kind of guesstimate and know that you're in shape number 2. But if you're needing to make a really long jump, like from this chair down to this chair, that's actually a lot easier because it's going to be on the same dots. So this chair that ends here on the 3rd dot is going to be exactly the same as this chair that ends on the 3rd dot below the 12th fret, except of course that it's going to be an octave higher. So if I'm playing in this chair, I can reach this E right down here and know that I'm actually in the exact same position. I'm in the same shape as right here, except that I'm an octave higher, and of course that will work regardless of what chair I'm on. So if I'm on this chair, I know that that is on the 4th dot, and if I want to go from this chair, well, actually I go off the fretboard. But if you've got 24 frets, you can do that.